Welcome and good afternoon. My name is Kamish Orr, and welcome back to something I like to call Stories from the Maelstrom, a recap of the day's games for this past week of real time. All right, first we head to Detroit as the Oakland Jacks face off against the Detroit Rockets. Detroit in first place in the American League, but not by much over Boston, the Boston Splinters. And Detroit drops another close one. This time, Oakland's Jim Cott allowed 2 earned runs in 7 innings, allowing only 6 hits. Detroit's Roger Clemens allowed 4 earned runs in his 7 innings of work. He allowed just 7 hits himself. Really, it came down to the 6th inning here. Clemens only allowed 1 run up to that point and had a 2-1 lead heading into the 6th. With 2 outs, a big 2-out rally here by the Oakland Jacks. George Brett singled, Joe DiMaggio singled, Mickey Cochran doubled, scoring both of them, and then Tris Speaker followed that with another double to score their 3 runs. Detroit would get 1 back in the bottom of the 6th, an unearned run there, but that would be the only as close as they would get. Mariano Rivera came in to close things down for Oakland. He made things a little interesting when Adrian Beltre singled and then Charlie Blackwell walked to put men on first and second with 2 outs at that point. But Alex Rodriguez grounded out to end the game. Rivera picks up his 6th save. Oakland improved to 18-22 and Detroit fell to 23-18. Heading now to Chicago, as the Chicago Docs pretty much statistically eliminated from any postseason hopes, but have the chance to continue to play spoiler here. And as we can see in this one, Doc Gooden had an amazing game here for Chicago, allowing just 2 earned runs in 8 innings of work and only 3 hits. In fact, he didn't allow a hit until the 7th inning. Duke Snider walked to lead off the 7th, and Ryan Sandberg had the first hit of the game for the Houston Hoots, doubling in Duke Snider there, ruining the no-hitter and the shutout in the same stroke. Hank Aaron would single later on in the inning for their 2nd hit, scoring Sandberg, giving them the only 2 out of the only 3 runs they'd score. They did score another run in the 8th, thanks to a triple by Duke Snider. That was the 3rd hit for Houston against Doc Gooden. Gooden would strike out 8 in this one. Meanwhile, the Chicago offense was firing on all cylinders here. They had a huge 2nd inning here against Burley Grimes. As you can see here, 6 base hits, a couple of walks. They scored 7 runs in the 2nd inning. Grimes did settle down after that. He did allow another one, though, in the 5th. And then Hoyt Wilhelm came in relief in the 7th and allowed another 3 runs to score there. So Chicago takes this one 11-3. Houston falls to 18-23, and Chicago improves to 13-28. They've won 2 in a row, but again, they're so far back now that probably statistically eliminated from any postseason chances. Heading out to Boston as the New York Swats facing off against the Boston Splinters. With Detroit's loss, Boston, if they win this one, could pull within half a game. And they do in dramatic fashion. Walter Johnson facing off against Lefty Gomez. Gomez allowed a couple of runs there in the 1st, a couple of solo shots, Wade Boggs and Jim Rice. And then another run in the 5th inning. That was an RBI double from Wade Boggs. Now, Boston did score 2 in the bottom of the 2nd. Cal Ripken had a 2-run homer there in the bottom of the 2nd. But New York took a 3-2 lead into the 9th. They turned things over to Satchel Paige to close things out, and Paige had a tough time. Frank Thomas led off that inning with a double, and then Alan Trammell misplayed the grounder from Lou Gehrig to put runners on the corners with no outs. things were looking pretty grim, and then Cal Ripken stepped up and hit another home run, his second of the game. He was 3 for 4 in this one with the 2 homers, 5 RBI, and a double. He walks it off in dramatic fashion, giving Boston the 5-3 lead, or 5-3 win, excuse me. So New York falls to 18-23. Boston improves to 22-18. Finally, we head over to LA as the St. Louis Wizards facing off against the LA Dynamos. Of course, the Wizards kind of pulling away. They'd taken the first 2 games of the series against LA to give them a 4-game lead. But LA strikes back in this one. Things were looking rough there when Pete Alexander allowed 3 runs in the top of the first. 2 of those runs from a Stan Musial home run. He leads the league with 14 homers, and he gets them on the board first here. However, LA would respond in the bottom of the first with a crazy inning. Joe Morgan had a single. He would have beat it out, and Ron Santo actually threw it away, allowing Morgan to take second. Cristobal Torriente walked. Eddie Matthews grounded out to put runners in the corners and stole second. And he actually would take third on an errant throw from Ted Simmons, scoring Joe Morgan. Willie Mays would walk following that, and then a couple of batters later, Chuck Klein had a 2-run double. Ernie Lombardi followed with an RBI single, and LA scored 4 runs in the bottom of the first to put them up 4-3. But they weren't done there. They would score another run in the third thanks to a solo shot from Chuck Klein. They'd score 2 more in the fourth thanks to a 2-run homer from Eddie Matthews. And in the sixth, St. Louis would get a couple of runs back. But then in the bottom of the sixth, facing Warren Spahn, LA would get those runs right back thanks to a triple from Johnny Mize. So LA takes this one 9-5. Pete Alexander is 3-0 so far this season. He started the season in the bullpen and his transition to the starting rotation here. It wasn't a very pretty game from Alexander, but he got the job done, allowing just 5 earned runs in 8 innings. Robin Roberts, after having an amazing start to the season, has really struggled. He's 3-4. He allowed 7 runs in this one in 5 innings. And St. Louis falls to 27-14, but still have a 3-game lead over LA. LA really needed this win to keep within striking distance of the Wizards. These 2 teams will play again tomorrow. Take a look at the standings here. We can see Boston just a half game back of Detroit in the American League. A very tight race, though, only 5 games separating first and last place here. Meanwhile, in the National League, St. Louis has a 3-game lead over LA, as we can see here. And Houston and Chicago are much further back. With only a few games to go, well, there's more than 10, I guess. Teams, the playoff races are starting to shape up here. The postseason's starting to shape up quite well here. So teams are playing 54 games. Most of them have played 31. So they have about 13 games left in the season. And as we can see, that puts Chicago 14 games back with 13 left to play. Pretty much not going to be able to do anything to make that up. Meanwhile, Houston's probably not much further behind them, with being 9 games back and only 13 games to play. So it'll be interesting to see as we head down the home stretch here and to the last games who can come out on top. As always, if you want to follow the action, head over to baseballmaelstrom.com. If you like this kind of content, consider subscribing so you don't miss any of the action moving forward. I do have a couple other projects in the works, so stay tuned for those. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, have a great evening.